The Solo Show is brought to you, as always, by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney in the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com.
I'm Realtor Victor Naraki, and I specialize in living near Disney World. I work directly with you. I'm not a referral agent. A referral agent takes your name, takes your number, and then sells you to a random agent for a stake in that commission. When you call me, you get me. And I am there for you from the initial consultation through to closing and all the steps in between. You get me. Now, if you want to reach me, visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com for all my links. And you will get me.
And when you do get Victor, tell him the Solo Show sent you. And now, the end is near, and so we face the final torch lighting. My friends, we'll say it clear. We'll state the reasons for which we've been fighting. We've watched each and every week and never despaired and never cried. But now we are so sad, 'cause Jeff Probst has left the island.
Thousands apply, but only 18 are chosen to be abandoned in Fiji for the adventure of a lifetime. Who will have what it takes to outwit, outplay, and outlast all the rest? Survivor 46!
Hello and welcome to another edition of Survivor. I am Stan Solo as always, and we're talking Survivor 46, Friends Going to War. Episode 13, original air date of May 22nd, 24 on CBS, and then streaming the next day on Paramount+. And I am not doing this alone. I'm going to bring in my good friend and yours, Dan. Come on in.
How can it possibly be the season finale already? It feels like it just started.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no kidding. Friends Go to War is probably a good title for the season finale, because the last episode, you don't have any friends. You're going with everybody.
I agree.
Yeah. We're going straight into spoilers. For those of you that aren't familiar with our format, we do spoilers right off the hop. So this is your warning. If you haven't seen it yet, well, it's on you. I'm sorry. Previously on Survivor, Charlie and Maria are saying they have to vote each other out. We talked about that last week, how they could have done a split screen, the way they were talking to each other. I got to vote them out. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I found out this year that the very first clip they show is pretty much foreshadowing, is what I'm finding this year. I mentioned that a couple of episodes, that the first clip they show, the very first clip they show is foreshadowing. And that was the very first clip they showed was Charlie and Maria saying they got to vote each other out.
Yep. They do a good job to set up the next episode.
Yeah. And then the rest, it was basically voting off cue for the previously on Survivor. It wasn't much more than that. We go back to camp. Maria asks Charlie to join her at the Cry and Pout boat that we named it.
That's funny.
As soon as they get to camp, because she was out of the vote. She didn't realize that they were voting for Q. In her mind, Charlie was going home.
And not only that, but once she realized that, she also, I think, realized my days are numbered here and I'm in a lot of trouble. So I have to start saying I'm sorry. And acting. Right, exactly.
Yeah. So she tells Charlie it was Ben's idea to vote Charlie out. It's good. Charlie's going to believe that. Yeah. We've been together the whole time, lady. Exactly. Yeah. So Marla knows she's a target. The target's on her back, and she has to win or she's gone. She knows it. She's pretty confident on this.
Yep.
Looking back in this season, can you believe that Liz would be in the final five?
I can, actually. I can, because there's always a player like Liz in the final five that everyone brings because they think they can beat,
Yeah,
do I think she had a shot in hell? No. I think she felt that way.
She really felt that way.
It's unbelievable, how disillusioned she was. But Venus's face was the funniest, though, when she was saying all those words. And I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, Venus is looking around. Am I the only one hearing this? Another surprise I have to say is Kenzie being in the final five. Because if you remember back when just before merge, we were saying this is the worst tribe ever.
Yeah, I mean, like we spent the first half of the podcast season talking about how bad that group was, right? Like,
right.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's what got her a little bit of empathy too at the end is that she was on such a bad team and rose through the ashes, to overcome it all, which you got to give her credit for it.
Yeah. I mean, she survived past Banu.
Yeah.
I asked earlier in the game, do you think someone from the Purple Tribe was going to win? And we were both kind of like, well, I don't think anybody has a chance when the Purple Tribe was kind of our response. Yeah. Then they cued the opening music and they go straight to the immunity challenge. They didn't waste any time on this show.
Yeah, which I'm a little surprised about because I did think, I mean, we've talked about it a lot on the show and just me and you through messages about what my prediction was. And like, I felt that it was obvious they were all going for Maria, but I was surprised that they didn't like have that talk beforehand, especially the way it rolled out, the way it actually happened. But, they're pressed for time. This last episode, everything's always squished together. I feel like the recap episode or the what do they call it at the end? The
get together.
Whatever the get together is. I feel that that's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. It used to be like a full hour. Now it's only like 25 minutes.
Yeah. I want to get into that when we get to that part. There was something there that I don't like it so much. And Jeff says the same thing we were thinking. We were just talking about, do you guys believe that this is the final five? Like, this is hard to believe that these are, he said nobody would have predicted at the beginning of the season that the five that are standing in front of me would have been the final five.
Yeah, I agree.
So the challenge is to race through a series of obstacles using a plank with holes in it. There's a rope through the holes and you have to untie it. And once you get through, you retrieve a rope, bring down a bridge, use a key to unlock the puzzle pieces. Once you finish the puzzle, there is a reveal to a solution for a combination lock. Once you solve the solution for the combination lock, you pull out a handle to ring a gong that's in front of your combination lock, and the first person ringing their gong wins. These are very challenging puzzles just to say. I at one point during this challenge, and I think it was Kenzie, she thought she was done, but oh no, that was only part of it. And,
she had to figure it out at the end, and that was something new. Even Jeff said it. It's usually not like that. It's usually like not that you have to go back and figure it out, right? Like you usually think you're done at that point. So
more often than not, it ends at the puzzle, and for them to have it continue after the puzzle, and like you could see that because it's a very confusing puzzle or challenge.
Yeah, well, look at Liz. Liz ran right past her spot where she was supposed to untie the puzzle pieces. Then she gets all the way up there. It's like, And it's funny because I did think to myself when Liz screwed up, because obviously that was before the end where you knew they would have to go back. Mm-hmm. When Liz had to jump off that the tower, there was like that slide and there was all that hay on the bottom. And I'm like, wow, that is like really smart that like the producers of Survivor would think that that's a possibility. Little did I know that, that was set up for something else, that they would have to slide down that giant thing.
And that was a steep slide.
Yeah, it wasn't like a fun slide. It was like
sliding down a building, a 3-story building. What that's like. So the winner of this cannot be voted off because they're either going to make fire or they're going to make it through. So so it's a really it's special or important challenge to win this one. In addition, you're playing for reward for this one, and the winner will go to Sanctuary for a pasta and salad meal with all the fixins. So it's something extra to play for. And if Maria wins, Jeff pointed it out, you're in an elite group of only 4 women that has won 4 individual immunity challenges. And I'm wondering if that kind of caused him saying that kind of caused what happens later with Liz. Like, you know what I mean?
Why would it cause a ref?
Well, it was like Jeff was basically saying, well, if Liz wins this, or if Maria wins this,
I see.
It's another feather in her cap for the jury, kind of.
Yeah. So I think they already knew that. I understand what you're saying. I think they already knew that, though. I'm surprised that, I don't know if you know the oldest female survivor, what that record is out of the 4 of them?
Well, no, I don't know. Sandra?
Is Kelly Wigglesworth from Survivor 1.
Wow.
And it's actually pretty surprising that only 3 have tied Kelly since the original episode of Survivor, original season of Survivor, right?
Yeah, 45 seasons later, and there's only 2 more that have done it. Yeah,
I know.
And I believe this was an all-new challenge. I don't think this was
Yeah.
I don't think there was very little in here that we've seen before, which I really like for the final episode, for the final 2 challenges to be.
Oh yeah, especially the next challenge that we'll talk about. Really cool.
So the first part, they're going through the net, and the net's kind of in this mud, and you come out, and they came out, and they're completely caked in this mud, but they have a bucket of water there you can use to kind of wash yourself off if you're willing to waste the time. And Charlie immediately picks up the bucket and hits himself in the head with it.
That was hysterical.
I wanted them to add the sound effect that they have when the stormtrooper hits his head on the doorway in Star Wars. And this was a very close challenge. Like it was, they were pretty much working on the puzzle at the same time when they got up there.
Yep.
So they get there and they solve the puzzle. And Kenzie thinks she's done. She puts her hands up, I'm done. And Jeff goes, no, you're not. You have to solve it. And so what was it? It was the one, how many holes is there in the plank? And Kenzie's wondering, well, what plank? I don't remember any plank. And then Liz was the one that clued in what the plank was. And she goes, well, I saw a plank. And so she takes off and grabs Kenzie's plank instead of her own, and comes back and helps her. And with that, they beat Maria. Maria figured it out that, I have to go back. I mean, seeing Liz run back right beside her might have been a clue. Like, where's she going to the bathroom? Like, where's she running to?
Oh, it's just Liz. Liz is, you know how Liz is.
So Liz takes off. While running, she completely. Oh, I'm not even at there. I'm at the wrong spot. I jumped ahead. Liz runs back, running right past her key piece. That's where I'm at. So anyways, once we get to the puzzles at the point, I knew Charlie was pretty much out. He does not do well in puzzles. He showed us this in the entire season. That puzzles is not his bag. So Liz stops doing her puzzle. She comes back to help Kenzie. And she counts the numbers wrong the first time, the holes. It's like typical Liz. So in the end, she helps Kenzie, and Kenzie wins. Kenzie wins the individual immunity. And I'm thinking to myself, well, she's got to take Liz to the pasta dinner. Like, man, she helped her win that. Like, she wouldn't have, there's no way she would have won it otherwise.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'll say is that although Liz almost ruined it for her by giving her the wrong number.
Yeah. Well, she did right away, realizing maybe I was wrong and not Kenzie. Instead of just
one thing I'll add about that: if you're counting numbers and it's like that close, and you may be off by 1 or 2, but the number that she gave her originally was 34, right? Mm-hmm. So the last number was 34. Okay, obviously the 3 is probably right. It's somewhere in the 30s. Why not just try every dial at the end, either way, and just see if it works? Because that's all she ended up doing at the end, is just flipping it from 34 to 35. I was like,
I think, wasn't it at the end?
35 or 36, whatever the number was. The point is it takes 2 seconds just to click it and pull than it does to go back and recount. Like, you might as well just try, especially since it's in the middle of it.
I think that's what Maria was doing before she took off running to find her plank, because she knew the first 2 and she had those in, and you could see her kind of playing with the last 2 digits. And then finally she said, this isn't working. I got to go. Right. I mean, with Liz yelling the number out, she could have just stood there and waited for Liz to yell out the number.
That's true too, right?
Like, it was close. So Kenzie wins individual immunity. This is her second time winning it this season. And how has it? No, yes. So now she has to bring one person to the pasta dinner with all the extras. That was her next decision. And she said she's torn between Liz, because Liz helped her win, and Ben, because Ben hasn't been yet. He's the only one left that hasn't been on any of the dinners or the meals or Sanctuary. And so Liz says, just take Ben. I'm allergic to pasta anyway. So that was really nice of her, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I struggle with this niceness sometimes. You're a survivor. Like, it's not, even if you can't eat Liz, Ben is struggling, like, why not make him struggle one more night and hopefully you have a shot at the next immunity? Because guess what? It comes back where Ben actually has a little bit more energy and a little bit more, like, his mind is working a little bit better, that he does win that challenge. Yeah. And if he didn't win that challenge, maybe Liz would have had a shot to win it, right? Like, so I don't know. I struggle with this, like, niceness sometimes. Sometimes I feel like just step on their throats. I know we're friends at war, but we're also at war, right? Like, yeah. So.
Well, that's just it, and it's not like as if she's allergic to the salad, and stuff. It was a pasta that she couldn't have because there's gluten in the pasta. Well, that's fine, but you can have a salad. Like you could have filled up on there was other things there too. There's pop. There's and whatnot. So we're at Sanctuary, and Ben and Kenzie are enjoying their lunch. Could they not have washed up first? They were still caked in that mud. I mean, I guess it does help keep the mosquitoes away when you got a layer of mud on your arms. But it's like they went straight there and they didn't wash their hands or nothing.
I wonder if they asked if they could wash up, and the producers were like, "No, we need it for the shot," Well, or they just had hungry that they go right to the food.
So Ben, Kenzie, Charlie, and Liz all want to vote out Liz. No, they want to vote out
Maria.
I got my notes. You want to vote out Maria. Maria's only chance at this point is to find an idol, basically. Yep. What about the shot in the dark? Is it not permitted?
That's done. Yeah, that's that. I think that's done at, I forget what the number, but they say in the beginning you can only use it up until there's X amount of people left.
Yeah. So Maria's out looking for an idol, and you don't blame her. I like how Maria says to Charlie, she goes, "Don't worry about me. I'm not going to vote you out. You got my vote," she said to Charlie.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Like that's gonna. Don't worry about voting. I'm not gonna vote you out. You're safe, Charlie. Don't worry about it. So Maria pitches to Kenzie to vote for Ben because of the time that Ben wrote her name down, saying, that wasn't a mistake. He really wants you gone. He's going to vote for you again tonight. So you should side with me and we'll get rid of Ben. It's like she's grasping at straws at this point. You don't blame her.
Yeah.
And she even pitches to Ben, to Liz and Charlie. And Liz, for a hot second, thinks about it. Like, she's going, "Oh, yeah, maybe we should get rid of Ben."
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe they should have.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't see how. I mean, come on, you got to get rid of. We would have stomped the floor with them. Like she would have murdered them. It would have been unanimous decision, in my opinion. So I don't know. Like, they edited it to make it seem like she thought about it, Liz. But I don't think she really did. No.
So everyone wants to vote out Maria because she's just that good. They get to tribal council, and they're all saying that. They say, "Well, Maria's going to win if we don't vote her out." She's, I completely hear, guys. Anything else to cover this tribal council other than Maria did vote for Ben, and I think that's the only time Ben's name has been written down this entire season. I could be wrong.
Actually, Ben, I have it right in front of me. He was actually, when Jem went out, he was the other votes.
Okay. And so Maria becomes the 14th person voted off and the 7th member of our jury. And there wasn't much to talk about for that tribal council at all, really. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. They gave Maria her props, and that was that.
Mm-hmm. So back at camp, they celebrate making it to the final four, and they talk about how emotional it was voting Maria out. And I get that. I think that would be an emotional time. And Ben is still having his bad dreams. He can't get much sleep at all. He had meat, like you said, he ate now. He should be feeling better, but he still woke up that night again with his night terrors, whatever. And Liz is thinking that she might be the biggest threat of the four because her name was never ever written down. Liz is saying, she says, "I'm probably the biggest threat here. Like I'm going to win this thing." Delusional to the end.
No, you would not win.
Yeah.
But I guess it's good to have. You got to have that mindset when you're playing the game. If you have the mindset of, "Oh, I'm going to lose anyway," why even play, right? So I can't falter.
Yeah. So we go to the final immunity challenge, and Liz comes walking in with like a homemade cane made out of a branch. She's acting like an old lady or something. I think she's trying to pretend like we've been here so long that this is how old I am now.
Yeah.
Jeff's shaking his head. I don't think Jeff cares too much for Liz, honestly. He likes Ben. He really likes Ben, but I don't know if he cares much for Liz and her antics.
I'm not sure many people care for Liz, but that's just my personal opinion.
But I mean, she's good television, so you think Jeff would like her, And she never talked once about quitting. Jeff does like quitters. So Jeff asks her, "Is there a story behind this cane, or is this a joke? Like, what's going on here?" And she goes, "I'm joking." I thought it was this was a really fun group this year.
They were fun. Yeah, and they talked about that in the after show, like how they had a lot of fun, just being silly with each other. And I get it. You have to have that fun. I just almost, and I said it before, I said it in a couple episodes, I almost thought it was like too much fun for some of them, and too much, maybe not fun, because you got to have fun, too much oh, I'm going to love this person forever type thing, right?
Mm, yeah,
And we're going to talk about something in a little bit of
yeah,
that came out afterwards, where like that's not always true. You've known these people for 20 something days, not 20 something years, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
We get to the challenge again. It's an all new challenge. They toss a ball up this. When I saw that ramp, I'm thinking to myself, "Do they got to climb up there and drop the ball down?" That's what I'm picturing.
well, first of all, let me talk about the opening shot that they have. They have this beautiful shot of a little island in the water, and then they pull back, and it's just awesome, awesome, typical Survivor scenery. And then to the sides, you see these structures, and the structures get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you see these giant structures, which you're not really sure what they are. You still have that beautiful island in the background.
Mhm.
And this is why I love Survivor so much. Like the way that they shoot it sometimes is like really like pretty and makes you think about like, oh, what's coming next. And I don't know, I love that, and I think it's a not talked about about their shots that they have, and they've been doing that since season one. You know,
Yeah.
they really have been doing shots like that. I mean, the shots have gotten better obviously as technology has gotten better, but
Yeah, their
I
drone driver is like an expert.
yeah,
Because he
yeah,
does amazing shots, even going through the wires and stuff they have to go through and stuff like that
yep,
sometimes. And when
yep.
they're, it's incredible. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, this is Plinko. They got to drop something down. There's like a bunch of little wooden blocks, and you can see where, like the Plinko game you see on The Price is Right. And I'm thinking, this is going to be crazy if they got to climb up that thing and drop balls down. Well, it turns out that's not the way it is. You shoot the ball up on one side, and then it kind of plinkles down through the main part of the structure. And your job is to build a puzzle, but you have to keep that ball in motion. So if the ball it falls to the end where the plink would normally end, it hits like a railing, it makes a loud clang, and you know, oh, I got to time out. And then it goes through this gutter system really, really slow, and that's got to be so agonizing, waiting for that ball to come through this gutter system. Then once you get the ball back, you shoot it back up again and keep going. Off the top, I already know Liz and Charlie are horrible at puzzles. I already know it's done for them. It's as soon as he said it's a puzzle, I knew, well, it's either Kenzie or Ben winning. It was no chance at all, I don't think. And then on top of it all, then Charlie, not only is he being bad at puzzles, he misses his ball twice. So he has to go into 2 timeouts waiting for it to go through that slow moving thing.
Yeah.
And then Kenzie, she has a couple of mishaps with the ball. One time she threw it completely over the structure. She had to run around, get it, and come back.
It made me think about how many times screw ups in challenges happen because it's just too perfect, right? Like, you know, things like this happen, and how they must have to edit some things out, right? Because you can't tell me that in 46 seasons there hasn't been screw ups like that before, right? And like they just decide on, okay, well, like Kenzie's turned out it wasn't that big of a screw up. She just ran behind, and it was more funny than anything, so they left that in. But I'm sure there's been other cases where they had to like, oh, we got to cut this out. This is terrible, you know?
Oh, for sure. I'm glad that they show those type of screw ups because it kind of answers our questions. Well, why didn't they win? You know?
Yeah, right.
Why were they so far behind? And then like Liz did the same thing as Charlie. Not only is she bad at puzzles, twice she missed the ball coming down and she had to get the timeout while it went through the gutter system, kind of. And Ben, on the other hand, plays a perfect game.
Perfect.
The guy that just had all the pasta and the salad and the pop and the sugar. Even though he was on no sleep, he did the perfect game. Not one screw up. He caught the ball every single time. He threw it perfectly every time. And if you're going to do perfect on one challenge, this is the one to do it on.
Exactly.
He has all the power.
And when he wins and he yells, "I did it," and his voice cracks, you know, I got to admit, and I love Ben. I thought Ben was probably my favorite player of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got a little like teary eyed there. I'm like, good for him. Like, I didn't think he had a shot in hell of winning, but
no, yeah.
But no, well, I mean, winning the ultimate game, like, even though I knew he was going to the finals, but I was like, good for him. Like, he overcame it. And he said, I think he says later on, he's like, you know what? I could have quit. Like, there was a lot of opportunity for me to quit. And if anyone should have quit, it would have been him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't. And you got to give him a lot of respect for that. You know, a lot of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're back at camp, and Ben has the weight. Well, it's great to win, but then you got the weight of the decision on your shoulders. You got to decide who are you bringing with you to the final 3, and which 2 are you going to send off to make a little fire challenge to figure out who's going to come back to be part of the final 3.
Yep.
So Liz tells Ben, well, you should take me because I have money and nobody would vote for me. I'm a millionaire anyways. You would win against me, no problem. And then Ben tells Liz, you know what? You're making fire. I just have to decide who's going against you, is basically what he says.
Yeah.
It was hard for him to say that. You could tell that, but he was honest. He was truthful. He was right, So then Liz goes to the cry and pout boat, basically for the rest of the day. I swear, that boat has seen more tears than it has water. Because everyone that wants to cry goes sits on that boat.
Yeah.
So then Charlie tells Ben that Kenzie could beat Liz in the fire. So you should send Kenzie because she's good at making fire. Well,
Right.
Charlie's not bad at it either. So Liz right away starts practicing making it. And she does pretty good when she's practicing.
Yeah, I mean, from what they showed, she did good.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a little weird that they showed her in this like awkward spot by that giant rock, which made me think to myself, maybe this is just the one spot she was able to make fire, because you can't tell me if you're going to go make fire, that's the spot you would choose. It was very like, it wasn't, you would want to like a smooth surface with, a lot of nothing to like disrupt you. And it's like a terrible spot. So I don't know. This is just how my mind works sometimes. I'm like, all right.
That's where the coconut husks were. And
yeah, it could have been.
That could have been.
Could have been.
So we go to tribal council, and in the end, Ben picks Liz and Kenzie to make fire. So the winner of this would be in the final three, and the loser is going to be gone.
Was that the right move, Stan?
Yeah, I think so.
You do?
I think so. You think Charlie should have made fire?
I think both of them should have made fire. I think he should have took Liz. Like, why are we taking why are we making the weakest player, the player you're going to beat?
Yeah.
Why are we making them? Why are we like eliminating them? I don't know. Like, again, it gets back to my point of like the one thing I had about this season was that they were all like, oh, I want to take my friends and I'm friends with them. And the only reason he decided not to take Liz is because he was very close with Kenzie and Charlie.
True.
That's not the way you play. I'm sorry. If you want $1 million, that's not the way to play. You know, friendships will last or they won't last. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we all are sitting here laughing as we're recording this episode about how bad Liz is and how she has no shot in hell. But we don't take her to the finals with you.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Good point. Good point for sure. Do you remember that there was one? I think it was Cook Island when they the fire challenge, and they basically destroyed their flint and then there for like an hour trying to get the fire made, and it didn't work. And then Jeff ends up giving them matches.
Yes.
One of them runs out of matches and still doesn't have the fire done. So she's just sitting there waiting. That was my favorite fire making challenge by far, and I'm pretty sure it's Cook Island that one was. So we've seen the fire making challenge a number of times. They have to make a fire tall enough to burn through the rope, more like a string. They call it a rope, and that raises a small flag. So once the string catches on fire enough, it breaks, and then you win. So Kenzie wins. You're probably like, that's another feather in her hat, basically. And
I mean, ultimately, Maria says at the end that the reason that she voted for Kenzie is that she saw something in her eyes, literally fire in her eyes, during that competition. So, I get it. I do get that. I don't know. I wouldn't have, if I was Maria, I wouldn't have based my overall vote on a fire making challenge personally. But
if you're split, I don't know which one to do. Then what it came down to in the end, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
they have their reasons, I guess. So Kenzie wins, and now she can say in front of the jury, "I earned my spot in the final three." Like Charlie didn't; he was taken into the final three. She says that right out, which go true to your point, Jeff asks Liz what her big takeaway from this journey is, because now she's off and she's going to be a member of the jury. She says the game is bigger than you think it is. She is proud of the game she played and how she was. She's really over everybody. She says, "I'm proud of the way I played, but I'm glad to be done." Basically, is saying. Then she says that I would have beat you all. She says, if I would have won, I would have beat you all. That's what you're saying. Like Venus was kind of like looking around, saying, "Am I hearing this right?" Like. So Liz becomes the eighth member of the and the final member becomes the eighth and final member of the jury. Man, oh man, my mouth is dry. So back at camp, there's only 3 left. Don't they usually have a feast waiting for them when they get back at camp?
Well, they did. They got a feast.
Well, they got it the next morning as breakfast.
Oh, the next morning. Yeah, they got breakfast. Yeah, I think it usually is a breakfast, or at least lately.
I think with the new Survivor it is. So the breakfast feast is delivered to the beach. They come on boat and everything. everything, got everything going for them. The final three are basically spending their time going over their speeches that they're going to tell the jury. And Charlie has some kind of spreadsheet made in the stand.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing there, but he had some sort of plan in his head. I guess he had all the jury members and who would vote for why and who he has to convince. I don't know what he was doing, but
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
yeah. So back at Tribal, by the way, for the third time this episode, we're back at Tribal Council. Tiff says, we're not looking for any Taylor Swift lyrics or pop culture or rock and roll references at this jury. I don't know if Ben can even do that. Like, talk without making a rock and roll reference.
One of the things I dislike about Survivor, and I've felt this way since the beginning, since the Sue Hawk speech that she gave in Survivor 1, I always feel like the jury members are just like holier than thou, and they always feel like, and they do have a lot of power at that point, but come on, get over it. Like, you're not as good as these people, otherwise you would have been there. And sometimes I feel like they're unnecessarily asshole. Oh, can I say that? A-hole.
Well, yeah, I thought about that too, actually. I was thinking the same thing. And I'm wondering if they have like rally coaches backstage at the Ponderosa telling them, you know what, you guys are the best now. It's all you. You guys are in control of the show. I'm wondering if they have people telling them that and feeding them that to make them feel that way.
Right. Yeah, that could be. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Or maybe the producers just tell them, like, this is how you have to be because we need good TV, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it could be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I like, it was kind of almost frustrating how every question at the beginning anyways was an argument about who said what.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I said
I love the fact that Q was like arguing, and finally, I forget who it was, maybe it was Hunter, or someone said, Q, can we just let them answer the question and stop being the Q show? Like, basically. Just stop it.
Exactly. Then this was where my quote of the week, when Hunter says, being part of Q6 was a one-way ticket home. Because Q's talking about who was in his six and who he was going to bring and stuff like that.
If I was Charlie, immediately I thought to myself, if I was Charlie, I would have said immediately, you guys may have not liked the 6, but I love the 6. Because one of the 6 actually made it to the finals, and that's me. Like, that's what I would have said if I was Charlie, right? Like, you can make fun of the 6 all you want because from your perspective, it didn't work. But it worked for me because I had you on my side for a little bit of the game, so.
Well, and the other thing, too, is like Charlie talked a lot about how he's always had a extra plan. He always went with the waves. He kind of like if I have a second chance always, or a second opening to go to, he says, and I would zig and zag. He talked about that a lot throughout the whole season, but I didn't hear him talk about that at all during the jury.
Yeah, that's true. True. Yeah.
Like I was with the 6, but I also had another plan over here. But then I also, if there's something went wrong there, I had another plan here. He never really mentioned that, how he always was thinking ahead type of thing. I felt he didn't answer his questions well at all. He just seemed to fumble with them.
Yeah, I agree.
Any of the questions we wanted to talk about
they were typical Survivor questions. I didn't think anything was like the craziest question out there. I think that they all got their points across at the end of the day. Maybe some better than others. But I think Kenzie did a really good job. And I know it was obvious that she won some votes in that final tribal council.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? Like, that's what you got to do, and you got to give her all the proper world.
Yeah, exactly. And Charlie, training to be a lawyer, dude, you got to learn how to speak in public better. Like, it wasn't that he was awful, but he didn't seem to be on his toes properly.
Yeah.
So it's time for the jury to vote. We end up getting a vote of 5-3 for Kenzie, and Ben didn't get any votes. Is that shocking?
I don't think so. I really loved Ben as a personality, but the last 4 or 5 episodes, he wasn't a player. He really, he was having a hard time. Everyone knew he was having a hard time. I feel like if he didn't have a hard time and he was the player that we thought he was going to be in the beginning of the season, he probably wouldn't be here, because then they would be like, all right, well, Ben can beat us. Ben has a good personality. Ben's strong. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Ben didn't have a great personality because he was going a little crazy. Ben wasn't strong, because he was so weak,
He didn't win any challenges at all. Like,
Exactly. So I don't think it's surprising. I really put at the end. I feel bad saying this because I like Ben so much more than I like Liz as a person. But I feel like they were the two like that everyone felt that they weren't going to get any votes.
Yeah, kind of the floaters of the season.
Yep.
Yeah. So you were correct. Kenzie would win, and how she would win by winning the fire challenge. So Dan, you got that 100% correct. Did you know that? Go ahead of time. Did you look that up? Because the way you said it was going to happen is exactly how it happened.
Well, I was wrong a little bit. I was wrong in the sense that I thought Ben would lose fire, or I didn't have the fire completely.
Well, you
right.
had said Kenzie would win fire. You said
right, but I said she would probably. Oh, I said she would probably beat either Charlie or Ben.
Okay.
I didn't think Charlie was ever gonna just be taken to the finals. That was like a complete. I just feel like the way I saw it, like the editing that was there last week, was that Marie was going home next week. Like I can see that.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, okay, who's left and who's going to get like voted out? And I really thought that someone was going to take Ben and Liz because of just what I said. Like they would get no votes to the finals. And I thought the person that had the best chance of doing that would be Kenzie, So that's why I picked Kenzie. It did not go the way I expected it, but at the end of the day, Kenzie still won. Now, I will say that if you would have told me last week that this is the way the finals would have been, I would have told you Charlie was not Kenzie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it would have to be either Charlie or Maria at that point then, because they both couldn't have been. Well, I guess they both could have been voted off. Because
Well, no. I'm saying if you would have told me the final three was going to be Kenzie, Liz, and Charlie, like you would have just told me that, I would have said Charlie's going to win.
Yeah. Well, no. Hey. Oh, yeah. No, that's right. Okay. Fair enough. So we get the after show. I kind of liked it better when they had the after show back in LA in front of a live audience and they had all the survivors there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I also liked it when they used different locations for Survivor, but that's just not how it goes anymore in these cost cutting days, right? Like they know what Survivor is. They have a set location now. They do it all in 20 something days. Where in the old days they were there almost 30 days, right? So like everything's kind of cut.
And I guess they're currently doing Survivor, filming Survivor right now on the same island. So they can't really have, I guess Jeff could fly home to California for a couple of days or whatever and then fly back. But Jeff's needed on the island right now. He can't go back. Right. So that's why, I guess that's why they do the after show on the island. It's all filmed in one, 30-day time or whatever. Hunter, Liz, and Soda all voted for Charlie. That means Maria didn't vote for Charlie.
Yep.
Which is kind of a surprise.
Yeah, it's a big surprise. And like, listen, Maria can do what she wants. It's her right to vote for whoever she wants. But, I think, again, you talk about a season where like relationships are so important and maybe too important. And at the end of the day, the biggest relationship didn't mean anything, right? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And you said, so this is when you said that there was something you wanted to talk about. It was this about a friendship. Is this the one?
Yeah. So I had messaged Stan. There's a lot of articles and press that they've done over the last couple of days, and Entertainment Weekly and Parade, they all have interviews with all the survivors. And one thing that has come out is Charlie, as far as how he feels about Maria. And apparently, after the season ended, Charlie did go visit Maria and met the kids, and Uncle Charlie showed up, and like they did that whole thing. And they had a little talk. And then from Charlie's point of view is that Maria then, through text message, changed the way she said that she was going to handle the press. And he didn't elaborate as to what that meant, really. But Charlie was not happy in the sense that he felt that either Maria was going to bash him a little bit or maybe defend her position a little bit more or whatever the case may be. And Charlie flat out said, we're not going to be friends. We're not going to have a relationship like everyone thinks we're going. And that's like, it's very interesting. Yeah. And he didn't say it in a mean way. And then I saw on Twitter, I guess a lot of people were then bashing Maria, and Charlie had to come out and say, no, I still respect Maria, and she's a great person and everything. Please, that's not the reason I'm doing this. I'm just telling you the truth that I'm not going to have a relationship with her, so it's fun.
Yeah, there are two very different people from two very different worlds. I mean,
exactly.
Like he's just starting his career. He's going to law school.
Yeah.
Whereas she already has a couple of kids and all that. It's they really don't have. If it wasn't for Survivor, they really wouldn't have anything in common.
Well, I mean, that's my point. My overall point is that you spend 21 days with each other, and they always say, oh, you develop these family relationships. I get it. Like they probably do have like the Survivor family clique, but it's not something where you should like say this is the rest of my life is going to be, because you never know. You never know. So why make those decisions? Why not bring Liz because of friendship to the finals? Why bring people you like to these reward challenges and not people you think you can beat, right? Like, I don't know. It always in the back of my head is you just never know what's going to happen,
Well, and I guess that's kind of the reason why Charlie voted Maria out. I mean, like, he did the same to her, and she ended up doing to him.
Yep.
So.
And apparently Maria was upset with the way. I don't think Maria knew that Charlie was that against Maria, and that is why she got a little upset with Charlie later on as she was watching the season progress. And Charlie was like, "Hey, listen, I did it to you, you did it to me, like,
Yeah.
I did see on Twitter, there's a great picture that they posted with about, I don't know, I'd say maybe 8 of them, all in front of Applebee's.
And I didn't do the Applebee's gift card. I guess they couldn't because it was already aired. You know what I mean? Like, Applebee's CEOs haven't seen the episode yet of Liz breaking down, so there's no way you would have had time to do it. But I was hoping
it was a really funny picture. I'm going to pull it up as you sit here and talk, and I'll tell you who was in it.
Yeah, sure. So in the end, I think Charlie, he was the law student. He's going to be fine in the end. Like, we shouldn't really feel too bad for Charlie. He'll have a good life ahead of him. What happens if there's a tie in a fire making challenge? Do you know?
Tie in fire making?
Well, sorry, if there's a tie, because there's 8 people voting, so if it's 4 and 4, they have?
They have clearly explained those rules, and actually, it's pretty genius, and the math is like perfect, right? So there's 8 people that vote. There's only 3 people there, so it's mathematically impossible for it ever to be a 3-way tie, right? So that's out. However, it is mathematically possible for there to be a 2-way tie for first, and in that case, if that were to happen, the person who comes in third place becomes the 9th member of the jury and breaks the tie. So Ben would be the one that breaks the tie.
Okay.
So in Ben's interview that they said, they asked Ben, if Maria voted for Charlie and it was a tie and you were to have had to choose between Kenzie and Charlie, who would you have picked? Who do you think he picked?
Kenzie.
Nope, he picked Charlie.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So interesting, right?
You could tell Charlie was hurt. You could tell, like, his.
Yeah,
he was saying, "I'm very happy for Kenzie," but his face was not saying it. His body language was not saying it. That he was happy for Kenzie.
So the picture in front of Applebee's. By the way, if you can Google this picture, please do so, because they're all making these like silly faces. Charlie has his shirt unbuttoned, like acting like a model. Ben is like kind of like showing his chest tattoos, and it's really funny. But it's Jelinski, Ben, I guess this is Jem, Charlie, Venus, and I'm not sure who this last person is. I'm not even sure if this is the survivor, to be honest. But it's not a group that you would have expected to be together.
So hang on, wait. So you're telling me they didn't bring Liz to Applebee's again?
Jim wasn't Liz. Liz was not there.
Liz didn't go? Oh, no.
So funny.
Another thing too that came out after, like, Liz was talking about how she was a millionaire. I guess it came out afterwards too, while we're talking about this stuff, that she's not very rich.
She's not rich at all. She in her interview, she's like, well, my whole plan was for them to take me to the finals, knowing that I wouldn't beat them because no one's going to give a millionaire $1 million. But in my final tribal council, I was going to admit to everyone, this is not true. I'm a stay-at-home. I'm a single mom. I struggled to get by, and it was all, I tricked you all. And that was what she was going to say, which is true. She's not a millionaire, which she had all of us fooled, because that's what she said.
Well, the thing was, though, did she have us fooled? Because we were all kind of going, how?
Right.
Like, what business is she in that she's so good that she could get? Like, did she invent something that we don't know about? Like, is she a .com owner? Like, it didn't quite add up that she was a millionaire. Something just seemed off about that.
Right.
Jeff asks Ben, "How do you feel not getting any votes?" And Ben says, "I'm just happy to get to play the game and how well I did. I played my own game. All the usual answers." And it seemed more true from him. He said it than when Charlie said it. That he was okay not winning.
Right.
We talked about this a little bit. How Kenzie came from what we called at the beginning the worst team in the history of Survivor, and she ends up winning. So that was pretty pretty impressive for sure. The other thing too they talked about in this postseason interviews was how many idols were not used or left in the
Unbelievable. It
yeah.
really is unbelievable. I mean, we've talked about this for weeks now, but I think this is a season where future Survivor players need to study and need to see what the mistakes were.
Yeah. The other thing too that Jeff mentioned, this is the first time that we had a tribe where people didn't volunteer for the rice.
Yep.
Because it's always past seasons. Eventually, they give in and they want to get the rice.
Yeah.
Didn't happen this time, other than Liz getting her individual rice. Another thing too, Jeff mentioned is this is probably the funniest season of Survivor ever, and I have to agree with that.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, yeah, I don't know, funniest. There's 46 seasons. I'm sure I could find something else a little funnier. But it was funny, you know.
Well, I think a lot of the funny parts of it kind of came down to Ben and just his quotes and stuff like that. Like he would slide in.
Yeah, and Ben was hysterical, right? Like they had some players that were funny. Liz too, right? Even though she's crazy, she was funny. That made it pretty far in the game, right?
Yeah.
And there was also some funny players like Jelinski and
even
Banu. Who
like we're kind of. I'm not sure if we were laughing with them or we were laughing at them in the case of
exactly.
Banu.
Exactly.
Because like Banu, like I think it was Kenzie that said like he could have just went camping and he would have been better off.
Yeah,
because he's not playing Survivor.
By the way, in the episode for season 47, they have one guy that says, "I went camping when I was a Cub Scout," and I.
He grew up and went home.
Grew up and went home. I'm like, great, here we go.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. The other thing too, Jeff talked about was how many blindsides there were this year. Is blindside after blindside, and we talked about Jelinski with his 7 equals several, and how next season is going to be 40 several.
That was funny.
I don't think there's ever been a first person voted out that we still remember as well as Jelinski.
I agree. I have to agree with that one. Yep.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me back to what I've been saying for several seasons now. Bring back a first off season where the first person got voted off. Bring all those people back, all the biggest losers. I think that would be a lot of fun because we didn't get to know them at all.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, but I don't know. I think that it would kind of be boring. They were voted out for a reason most of the time. Not too many times is a Jelinski voted out first. Like the other thing too is,
go ahead.
No, like a strong male. Like those aren't usually voted out first. You know?
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, you kind of need that. The other thing too is more often than not they vote off the oldest person first.
Yep. Exactly.
So if now they're 5, 6, 7 years older. Yeah,
I'm over 20 years older, right? Like you go that too far back. I mean, you got to have a Survivor Senior Citizens edition, you know?
Yeah, well, you don't need 46 people or 47 or 48 people. You only need...
Yeah, but you only have a pool of 46 people.
Right, that you can choose from.
So, and you need 18 of them. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room for people to, not be able to play.
47, because it'll be next season still to add. So maybe they'll do it for season 80, 80th. Anything that
they already announced 50 is going to be returning players, by the way. So
50 is going to be returning players?
Yep. They announced that a couple weeks ago. They announced it.
Oh, okay. Very cool. I didn't know that. Anything to cover on this season before we go on to next time on Survivor?
Overall, fun season. I think good personalities, which is always good. 1.5 episodes are great. And I think they should continue to do that.
See, I'm almost thinking an 1.5 is almost too long.
Really?
Yeah, it's great at the first, but it seems like towards the end, it's almost dragging at points.
Yeah, I can see that too. Yeah. I can see that sometimes people could say it drags, especially when there's only 6, 7 people left.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wouldn't give up the early. Then they're never going to make it where half the season's 90 minutes and half the season's 60 minutes. So
well, hey, they make the last episode 3 hours, which
yeah, but that's been going on for 47 seasons, right? Like 46 seasons.
Okay, well, it's that time.
Next time on Survivor.
So next time on Survivor is this fall coming up, and there's going to be bats. Lots of bats. That's what we saw in the trailer. We saw it on the sign. There's bats. We saw bats flying around. It's on the same island. I don't know where all these bats are coming from all of a sudden that weren't there before. Maybe they imported them in. One of the contestants says he's 59 years old for next season.
Really? I didn't see that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. He says, I'm 59 years old. It looks interesting. It looks very interesting. I want to thank you, Dan, for coming on these. Usually we do them Saturday morning. And I know your life is very, very busy and it's hard for you to make the time for it. I really appreciate you coming on these.
A lot of fun.
It's great to talk about Survivor.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I kind of have an idea for next season where I'm almost thinking we should do this. I know you don't usually watch live though, do you, Dan?
It's hard. It's hard for me to guarantee that I'm going to watch it live every episode,
For people that are big Survivor fans, what would you think about having a live chat on Wednesday nights when they have Survivor, where we have a group chat, we on Facebook Messenger, and we can kind of comment on the show as it's airing. And just before they vote, we could decide, everyone says who's going to vote or who's going home. Something like that I thought would be kind of fun to try. It doesn't have to be a huge group, maybe 4 or 5 people in the chat. And you don't have to be there every week. If you can't make it, whatever reason, mute the chat that week. So you don't want to be spoiled. You want to watch it later. But I think that'd be a fun idea. What do you think, Dan?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So I'm going to look at that for next season for Survivor, doing a live chat on Facebook Messenger. We have a closed group. And if you want to be part of that, let me know. And I'll, of course, be talking about it before the season airs. This has been a lot of fun, Dan.
Great time, great season. Happy for Kenzie. By the way, I mentioned it last week. Kenzie is also super pregnant, so in real life, really good for her. So good stuff.
That's the other thing too. Is I like when they do it back in the studio. You see what people look like 6 months later, kind of. And they have new tattoos or new haircuts, or in Kenzie's place, 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that's it, everybody. Ken. Tribe has spoken.
If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. Like the show and give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Add a positive review on Apple Podcasts, and that will help us grow the channel. All logos, sounds, and music that are made by and for Survivor are owned solely by CBS Productions, Survivor Productions LLC, CBS Studios, Castaway Television, and Mark Burnett Productions, and are not, nor are they intended to be owned by The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.